Today I'm animating some Goopy sea creatures. Well, these are things I kind of already animated, but I'm coloring them now. Just going to be adding in the flat colors and doing some cell shading. And these are kind of maybe not real creatures that live in the sea, but inspired by different sea animals. Like this one's clearly a squid, with the eyeball kind of gives it away. And here, well, that's, well, cute drawing of something else, but these are kind of the style frames here. So got a jellyfish, a squid, some kind of butterfly thing. That's not going to be part of this pack. This little fishy thing, the tail, and then kind of an eel, eyeball-y eel, a stingray, another fish, and another fish. So just like inspired by sea life, and I have some dolphins and a whale that are already animated, but right now I'm just getting in some of these colors of this squid. We'll zoom in a little bit. The coloring stage is kind of peaceful because you don't really have to think as much. Well, you don't have to think at all, really. You're just putting in blocks of color. And this is the last time to see any mistakes to correct. But ideally, you've already corrected all your mistakes at the rough animation stage. Because once you make a mistake at any stage of animation, in other words, you want to make your mistakes early on. You don't want to be down the pipeline. You don't want to have already storyboarded something, roughed it out, done the line work, done the coloring, done the compositing, and then have to change something. Because then you have to go all the way back to square one. And that can be very depressing. So if you're doing anything for like a client, just make sure you show them every single stage of the process before moving on. I like to get the written script or written idea, written treatment agreed upon with them, and make sure we're totally on the same page, and then do some really loose kind of concept sketches and just say, hey, is this kind of what you're thinking of? Maybe have a couple different examples, and then that gives you a goalpost to shoot for. And then once that's done, then you can maybe do a style frame where you'll kind of draw a finished looking thing, say this is kind of what it could look like once we animate it. I'm already seeing some problems here with this eye. There's a gap here, but I'll just correct all that later. Ooh. What's up, Gilded Guy? Thanks for saying hi. I love your work. I need to check it, get caught up on it. What's up, Data Pebble? I can't believe I actually caught. Whoa. I can't believe I actually caught a live stream. I'm such a huge fan of your work. I love all your animations and love seeing the process. Oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I've been streaming this month. I used to never stream, but I just kind of thought, like, before I was like, what's the point of streaming? It's also really hard for me to talk and draw at the same time. But at the same time, the more you practice something, the less hard it becomes. And also it's kind of cool to document different stages of the animation process. So I have this kind of virtual fossil record, and I can even look back on it and kind of remember what I was doing on that specific day. And also, like, sometimes I drop into other artist streams and I'll catch a piece of their process, and maybe that'll inspire new ideas. Even if you work in a different medium, you can still maybe grab something. And it's always just kind of, I don't know, it shows like how not glamorous animation is. It's a very tedious, time-consuming process, but it can also be kind of meditative. But this might seem like this coloring's going slow because it's like just clicking on these solid blocks of color, but when you're drawing on paper, each one of these frames would have taken several minutes to color. So I used to animate on paper and color with either markers or colored pencils, and it would just, like this right here, that would have taken minutes maybe. But like just coloring in these flats, it can kind of look too flat, so I like to give it a little bit of cell shading just to make it have a little more form. Like these style frames, this is what it'll look like when I add the shading to make it pop more, and then these little highlights. But yeah, I've streamed like at least over a dozen times this month compared to the like 3 streams I've done in my entire life. And I'm kind of just experimenting with the whole format, and also streaming on either TikTok or Instagram at the same time as doing a YouTube stream. And then I have 2 other YouTube channels that I'll kind of trade the streams off so I don't over flood my main animation channel with streams. But yeah, different platforms are very different how they treat them. I heard some people say like when they started streaming on YouTube, it destroyed their channel with the algorithm. They said similar thing with doing YouTube Shorts, but then other people, they blow up on Shorts. So I don't know. I'm not really too concerned with any of that. I'm just like making stuff, and YouTube is just something to post it on. But it's not like, I'm not really trying to do the whole, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. What is your thought process when you're doing lighting and shading? Does that question make sense? It makes sense. So it depends on the context of what I'm making. What I'm doing right now are loops. So these are things that are gonna have transparent backgrounds, and it can be dropped into a scene. So I'm making this mostly for other video editors, music video makers, and DJs who do like VJ loops on their concerts. So I kind of just, like for something like this, because it's not in a scene that has clear lighting, I just kind of pick a direction that the light's going to come from and just keep it simple. So like I normally just have the light coming from the top, or maybe favoring the left side or the right side. And then like this one, the light, because it's hitting the highlight here on the eye, is kind of coming from this direction. So I know that I'll just have the main highlights kind of favoring this direction, and then have the shadows in the opposite direction, but then also have some of these rim lights, or like a counterbalance, smaller lights on the opposite side that can kind of be fun to make it pop a little bit. But I don't go too crazy with the shading and highlights because I have to animate all these frame by frame. So like if I wanted to make this more 3D, I could add darker values in here, maybe some more midtones, but I'd probably only do that if this was an illustration. So with animation, my philosophy is basically just have the flats and then have highlights, and then maybe a shadow layer as well. But sometimes I'll just do just the flats and shadows or just the flats and the highlights. You don't necessarily need both shadows and highlights. And the more highlights you add, the more glossy or wet it's gonna look. So since these are like kind of sea creatures, I am gonna make them a little bit glossy and cell shaded. And got this little jellyfish guy here. This one's pretty much already colored. It's just 2 colors. Then I'm gonna cell shade the highlights. And then we got this. Well, here's the roughs of it. This is what it looked like on the rough stage. And it's flashing because in between every frame is a in-between. So this jellyfish bounces about 35 frames. Thank you so much for sharing, really insightful. No problem at all, Data Pepple. I appreciate the question. And then I got this little fishy guy. This one I basically just animated the body first on a motion path and then added in the tail, kind of straight ahead animation being pulled along by it. And this one is gonna look like this when it's done. Just gonna have a couple highlights, just one highlight on its eye and then one on its tail, and then just a shadow on the body. I really like turtles. I already did a turtle loop in here in this pack that I'm doing. When I was first designing it, I forgot to give it a shell, which is an important feature on turtles. But I really love turtles. They're my favorite animal besides cats. I relate to turtles a lot because they're kind of just inside their shell, pretty solitary, just kind of vibing, but they can also hustle when they need to. You'd be surprised how fast turtles can move. The alligator snapping turtle, it has a cool appendage on its tongue that looks like a worm, and it uses it as a lure when it is hunting. And it'll just bury at the bottom of the water, and it'll stalk its prey super slowly and get to a good location where there's fish, and then just open its mouth, and it has this little appendage on the tongue that is shaped like a worm that it moves around and wiggles around like a worm, and it just waits for fish to go inside its mouth or near its mouth, and then it swallows them. And the snapping turtle's shell and body will have a bunch of algae on it, so it's very camouflaged, and it's just very well adapted to stalking its prey. They normally live about 25 to 40 years, which isn't super long for turtles, but I think the longest one lived in captivity was about 70 years. So yeah, and you just don't want to get bit by one. They can easily bite your fingers off. I think they can weigh like 150 pounds, which is more than I weigh. It's kind of crazy to think about. I only weigh 138, and I've weighed that since 9th grade. Even when I work out, I've been able to gain 10 pounds, so the highest my body will go is 148, and then I plateau, or I'll take a dump and I lose like 5 pounds of progress. So I just kind of gave up on working out, but I still walk every day. Sometimes I'll do push-ups, but it's important to be physically fit because your body is part of your well, your brain is part of your body, and even though I sometimes feel like I'm just a brain, just a consciousness that animates, I have to remember I have this body that you have to take care of. So make sure you're drinking a lot of water, getting your sleep, getting some walking in, because then you can animate longer. What's up, Kid Pen? LOL, yep, the first time I saw a turtle run was visiting my grandma in Nigeria. Man's was fast as heck. I felt like I had been lied to my whole life. Yeah. I had 2 Western painted turtles and a box turtle, and whenever they'd see me, they would dart so fast, ready to be fed. If you look at the little sea turtles, like the documentaries of the sea turtles running to the ocean, they're like little Sonic the Hedgehogs. Poor little fellas. They get picked off a lot. They're easy prey. It's estimated that only about 1 in 1,000 sea turtles survive to adulthood, and a mama turtle can lay up to 100 eggs at a time, and so there's 100 eggs per nest. So I think that's like only 1 out of every 10 nests even have turtles that survive up until adulthood. And there's probably a smaller ratio of the ones that do survive to adulthood that actually have offspring. But they have so many offspring that it kind of balances out. They have pretty hard lives. At least when they're really little. Well, I live by a pond that has an infestation of red-eared sliders. They're one of the more hardy turtles. They can survive in many different conditions of water. They've even been observed pretty much living in sewage. And they're kind of an invasive species, kind of like goldfish in a way, where like people who bought red-eared sliders from pet stores and then release them into the wild where they aren't native, they will tend to overtake the population. And that was a big problem when Ninja Turtles was first coming out and was popular, because all these kids wanted turtles, and so their parents were just buying them a bunch of turtles, and a bunch of red-eared sliders started getting bred and sold. But the issue is, like, turtles are a long-term project, and they can live a really long time. So a lot of people just jumped into it not ready for that responsibility, and they ended up getting rid of their pets a lot, just releasing them into the wild all around, even in different countries that didn't have them. Then they were being imported to pet shops, and yeah, that's thanks to Ninja Turtles. I really like turtles. I used to talk about turtles a lot more than I am right now, but I quickly realized that's not an effective strategy for keeping the ladies around. Let me tell you. I used to rent all the reptile books from the library, and there was like 8 main books I would rent, and I'd just reread them over and over. But they had like 3 or 4, maybe 3 main turtle books, and then a few other general reptile books. I don't know, for some reason I never really got into amphibians, which is strange because they're kind of like the natural, like, they seem very relatable to reptiles, but I just found reptiles more interesting and cool for some reason. But I think frogs are pretty cool too. hope everyone's having a lovely evening. It's a little late, but I was getting tired, and then I just thought I'd stream while I work, and it kind of helps me wake up a little bit. Nothing wrong to passionately talking about anything for long. Thanks, Vin. I guess the other thing I used to talk about all the time was Radiohead. And I guess Sonic the Hedgehog, but I don't know, my tab has like several Sonic the Hedgehog videos open at the same time right now. Even though I've listened to dozens and dozens of reviews of Sonic Adventure and Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I just really like hearing other people's playthroughs and opinions about those games. Even though they say a lot of pretty much the same little trivia, it's still interesting. Sometimes I'll hear someone say a take, even if I don't agree with it. I just like hearing what is their perspective of this game that I know inside and out. Because it's just, I don't know, it's like such a solitary, isolating thing playing a single player game, like Sonic 3. Play through the level so many times, beat the game so many times. But then there's someone else who's done that as well when they were growing up. And so like has this weird kinship type of thing. It's like we're all part of this community even though we never met. I suppose music is a similar thing, but music is also tends to be more collaborative in terms of experience. Like you'll go to a concert together, you share songs together, make mixtapes for people. And I guess video games are getting more like that now too. Even solo player games, because of streaming, people will share the experience of playing the game together with a bunch of people. And so, I mean, we are social creatures. Even the more introverted among us still want to feel like you're not like completely just isolated. So like the internet's a safe way for people who are maybe not physically around like-minded people or people with similar interests. It's a safe way to connect on certain shared interests. I think I'll do this jellyfish right now because I just feel like it. Just cell shade some of this jellyfish situation up in here. Grab the cell shade color. I have to get my car worked on tomorrow, or a safety inspection. Kind of anxious about that because I don't know anything about cars, but I know mine has problems. But I guess if there's something wrong with it, better be safe than break down in the middle of the road. So I was actually stuck at the grocery store today for like 20 minutes because I couldn't get my car out of park. It's just locked in park. Luckily I have my phone on me. Sometimes I don't bring my phone, but I was able to troubleshoot, and I found a little thing I had to open my car open. I don't know how to explain this, but luckily I was able to at least get out of park, even though all my warning lights were still on when I was driving. Okay, I'm actually gonna move this reference picture down because I can just trace this. Oh boy. Hey, what's up, Sebastian? I'm animating in TV Paint right now. I have the Toon Boom salesperson in my email asking me to buy Toon Boom, and then I want to learn Blender. Taking some Skillshare courses on Blender. Really like to learn that program. Not just for like what it's known for, being like the more 3D stuff, but for 2D animation, and also combining low poly animation with hand-drawn animation. Just so much you can do with it. But yeah, I just basically just do frame-by-frame animation by hand on a Cintiq, and I started out on flipbooks. That's how I learned. Yeah, Moho. Yes. So, yes, that's like puppet animation, doing rigs. I have Moho actually. I've just been so busy. I haven't had the time to properly learn it. But yeah, do you use Moho? I need to. I kind of actually forgot about it because I was getting into trying to learn Blender a little bit. But I bought Moho like it's probably 6 years ago when it was on sale for Black Friday. And the computer I had wouldn't run it, so I'm gonna have to try it on this computer. Hopefully I can transfer the program to this one. Hope there's not some weird licensing thing with it. And then the other animation program I've tried is Adobe Animate, which I had to use that one for a project that just needed like vector lines. And I only had that one for a couple months. It was like $20 a month, I think. And it was just a complete pain to color in. But I did like the line quality, but the interface was a little confusing. I just find TV Paint a little more intuitive. Now with this cell shade, I'm kind of just not even turning my lightbox on, but I'm just gonna be flipping back and forth to compare the previous frame to the current frame. Just gonna animate one cell shaded thingy at a time. What's up, Franco? Whoa. Famously said by Neo from The Matrix. Whoa. I bought the Matrix Blu-ray collection. It has the first 3 movies and the Animatrix on it. And then it has like a making of documentary behind the scenes thing. But I kind of only like the first one. And I guess the second one has some cool set pieces. And I do like the Animatrix. So I guess I like them all except the third one. But the first one, I just feel like the first one still leaves mystery. It doesn't try to explain every single aspect of the Matrix. And even though, like, yes, by today's standards, it's kind of corny, it's funny, like the slow motion stuff has been memed a million times, but for the time it was still really cool, and it's just a really good sci-fi action movie. It's just, yeah. No, but I recently bought it through Humble Bundle. So I'm going to get it too. But man, so many software to learn, it's crazy. Yeah, luckily there is some transferable knowledge between softwares. Um, but like, yeah, every software has its own unique features and gimmicks and stuff. So it's just like, I feel like I need to download a new brain just to run all these programs on. It's not even just a matter of my computer being too slow. It's the fact that my physical brain, the RAM on my brain is like 1989 level. But I have a really good memory. It's weird. I guess that would be like your hard drive space. Because my long-term memory is, I feel like I've lived so long, but then like real-time operations, it's just glitch after glitch. But I really like memories. I kind of just talk about memories all the time. I'm a very nostalgic person. When I'm with my homeschool friend, we pretty much talk about the same memories all the time. And then we'll talk about the fact that we talk about memories all the time. And it's kind of this never-ending loop. But it's just kind of comforting, I guess. And he'll build a fire. We'll sit out by the lake. This cell shading is definitely more tedious than just coloring in the flat colors. What's up, Bentley? How long have you been animating? Let's see here. 19, 15. Like 15-ish years, I think. Like counting when I was just starting. So I did like flip books and just kind of just learning animation for like the first 4 years, and then I got a program to animate in and kind of make more proper videos like around year 4 or 5. And then I've been doing animation professionally as my career since 2017. What's your favorite cartoon? Ooh. Well, I can't just pick one, but so when you hear the word cartoon, I guess there's sort of some semantics at play here, because are we talking about anime as well? Because I often, when someone says cartoon, it'll mean like more Western animation, but I guess for like okay, so like a recent cartoon, well, recent-ish, I suppose, would be Adventure Time, but I just finished watching the whole series, even though it was concluded, you know, a few years ago. That was a it's an excellent show. It inspired me a lot when I was learning animation, and has really, you know, an expansive world. And currently I'm watching SpongeBob before I go to bed, so that one just popped in my head. But the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob are peak comedy cartoon filmmaking. It's a microcosm of life. And then like childhood cartoons, definitely Dragon Ball Z. You know, I'm still something I watch and love to this day. And I watch a lot of videos about it. And I like old cartoons. Like I like Rubber Hose stuff, and I guess like Cowboy. Well, okay, this is more, I guess, anime now, but Cowboy Bebop's one I watched recently that I didn't watch when I was a kid, and I thought that was really great. And then Infinity Train is a recent show. I think it was on HBO Max. And I thought that show had excellent writing. It kind of had a Stranger Things meets Spirited Away type vibe. Kind of just bouncing around now. But I guess I'll do this top part of the jellyfish. What I'm doing right now is just animating some Goopy sea creature loops. I'm just kind of documenting the cell shading and coloring process. But yeah, I already animated a turtle and a whale with 3 eyeballs and some little fish creatures swimming around, and a squid and an eel. And right now I'm just kind of doing this little jellyfish guy. And I did a dolphin, a Goopy dolphin playing with a Goopy bubble thing. If you've seen those videos of dolphins playing, shooting bubbles out of themselves and then playing with it. It's kind of inspired by that. But just animals offer an endless source of animation inspiration, both for design and just studying how they move. I'll polish this up later. Right now I'm just kind of trying to get the main vibe of these colors in. But the most recent thing I posted on YouTube was a process video of some lava loops, or not lava loops, but a lava lamp goop, like the gooey liquid stuff you see in lava lamps. Kind of animated those swimming around like pulsating jellyfish sort of, and those will be a pack of VJ loops. But I just made a little process video talking about it a little bit and showing the rough animation, the cleanup line work, the coloring, and the cell shading. So those are generally the steps I go on a hand-drawn loop of these kind of more surreal type things. There's always just the rough animation, the line work, the coloring, and the cell shading. Sometimes I'll do a toon shader to give it a little bit more of a soft look. I really want to do some low poly PlayStation 1 style graphics in Blender. I have some tutorials saved on YouTube. It's just a matter of finding the mental bandwidth and time to do that. It's not a top priority right now, because I have other projects going on. But just the more styles you can learn, the more opportunities you have. If something comes along where someone needs something in a specific style, then you'll be equipped with that knowledge. There is luck involved with any kind of opportunity, but it's not just luck, it's also being prepared for when the luck comes along. Because if you just get lucky with an opportunity but you don't have the skill set or the knowledge, then you might as well have not been presented in the first place. But sometimes you have to learn on the spot, learn on the job. So if someone asks, hey, can you do this thing? Say you think you can do this thing. Or just say you can do this thing and then figure out how to do it. But that's a little risky, because if you can't follow through, then you could burn a bridge by failing at the thing that you were asked to do. I started watching Sandland tonight. It's the Akira Toriyama show, or the manga he made rather, called just Sandland, and they made an anime adaptation of it. I just watched the first episode. It's kind of like Mad Max meets Dragon Ball. It all takes place in a wasteland, and water is the main currency, and the world is survived by humans and demons. And there's sort of a lot of mistrust between the two, and the humans blame all the problems on the demons, but then they have to kind of work together to find this water source. At least that's where I'm at right now. I mean, it's just the first episode, but I like the art style. It's kind of, you know, like the CG cell shaded look. The backgrounds look, I mean, they're probably digital backgrounds, but they have a watercolor type texture. And I don't know, it does a pretty nice job of that hybrid look of hand drawn and CG. I think we're getting past that awkward phase of CG and anime where it just looks kind of plasticky and awkward. I think we're seeing a lot more successful attempts at merging the two lately. Which, if I learn Blender and 3D stuff, I always want to kind of keep the hand-drawn feeling in it. Even for like 3D type backgrounds, maybe texture map on more hand-painted, handmade type things. I've been seeing a lot of blending of styles too in video games, like the Nintendo Direct. They're showing some games that had pixel art characters inside more photorealistic environments. Final Fantasy VII did something similar, but it was with polygons characters in hand-painted backgrounds. And I think the pixel art characters kind of mesh better with that style, because pixel art already has a sort of handmade look. Hey, thanks for stopping by, Bentley. Enjoy the rest of the night. I'll just see what this looks like so far. Whoa. Guess it's alright. Whew. Cell shading's tedious. Oh yeah, I should definitely save before I become a sad sack and lose all my progress. Like has happened before. Boy. I'm actually just gonna go to this one now and start adding in some colors on this one. Do the highlights on this. guy's face. Whew, take a drink of my lavender chamomile tea. Or I think it's pronounced tremoli. Okay, I know what to do here. So to add a highlight coming in a little bit. My ultimate goal eventually is to have no clients. It's just a personal project of mine. Because although I'm grateful when I do have a project, it's very psychologically stressful. Although I know working on your own thing is also stressful. So you hold yourself to standards as well. It's not just a matter of wanting to do a good job for your client, you want to do a good job for yourself. Sometimes you're your own harshest critic. Whereas when I'm working for someone, they say all this nice stuff, and it's like, oh, maybe it did turn out okay. But like if I'm just by myself working on something I don't show anyone, then there's no other reference point to bounce ideas off of. So I guess working with people is a good thing. But sometimes it's also nice to do something that is in a vacuum, maybe that no one will ever see, that you can just freely explore some ideas or techniques without worrying about how it will be received. Then you can work unfettered by the concerns of anything other than the work. Chamomile tea, chamomile, chamomile tea, chamomile tea, chamomile, chamomile, It's lavender chamomile tea. It reduces your stress. It improves your sleep. It makes you a happy camper. Oh boy. Just gotta draw this little highlight on this little fish's visor. Chamomile. Chamomile. Wow. I'm learning. People teach me things every day. See how this April Fool looks. My eyes are getting fuzzy. It's another episode of drawing with the Fruit of the Loom sock. My eyes are always strained. If I take a break from drawing, I'll just play on my DS. There's no break. The only break I can do from my eyes is to listen to Radiohead. And I don't think my neighbors would like that right now. I guess I could read, but that's with pictures, with words close up to my eyes. It's kind of straining too. As this eyeball stretches down, I'm going to have the highlight stretch down with it. Kind of keeping in mind the context of the shapes surrounding the highlight. The shading can squash and stretch as well. See how this looks in motion real quickie. Cool. I'll have it gather up some squash up here. The fish stretches his eyes. I gotta learn more turtle facts. What's up, Jimmy? 6T. So good, my brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate. Just animating this little fishy guy with the tail swimming around. And I'm just kind of getting in. I got the flat colors in. Now I'm doing the highlight on the eyeball. Do the cell shading. And these are other creatures I'm working on that'll be cell shaded. before I was doing this, earlier this week I was doing surreal, or not surreal, the other thing I was doing, cyberpunk cables and pipes. Streaming some of that process. I'm working on a pack of animated cables that are flying around the screen, and then there'll be a couple pieces that are static backgrounds. One piece that is going to be a monitor with hundreds of big cables coming out of it, all intertwined. There'll be a background piece, like a backdrop. And then the other one is going to be this horizontal pan of cables that'll scroll across the screen, and that can be overlaid onto other footage. I just find something really appealing about cables. And the most recent animation pack we finished completely is Lava Goop. I just posted a process video on my YouTube channel, Mikey Buzan Animation on YouTube. I've been kind of making process videos lately. Did one on dragons and ice, then a process video on how to animate morphing shapes, and the process video on boxes, but getting close to the first frame, so I might copy my first frame, paste it at the end of this cycle to make sure I loop into it seamlessly, or I could just flip in between the two. Might just be able to eyeball it. Currently doing a best man animation speech, and today I was gonna try to design the characters, but I kind of didn't. Well, I started one. This is really simple to show real quick. It's just super quick sketch, but my best friend, he has like really big eyes and really prominent eyelashes. This is him when he was a kid. So I'm just gonna give him like 3 little eyelashes, but make sure he doesn't look like a girl. And then like his hair can just be these 3 little flaps on his head. It's like that. I think that could distinguish him from me, who will be next to him, and I'll look different. Just be a really simple, almost borderline stick figure style. Almost like a slideshow in terms of the animation level. Not going to be a ton of frames of animation. But, yep. So I got most of this one, the flats in. And then this jellyfish. I have other process vids I started on different sea creatures, but I think I'm pretty much done now, so be sure to check out the other animation on the channel, the animation tutorials, and don't forget to drink water and brush your teeth, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you some other day. Peace out. Have a wonderful